everybody. This is Dillon Dilligaf bringing you episode 34 of the Tickle Me Comedy Podcast. I hope you've all had a great week. I hope you got out and voted. Doesn't matter who you voted for, just hope you got out and voted. That's a very important thing. As Americans, we don't have many real responsibilities other than taxes and voting. So I hope that you were able to do that. So tonight, I got my guest host with me tonight. I got Roman. How are you, Roman?
Good. Feeling good. Yeah.
Have any fun this week?
It's been a crazy week, but we'll get through it all.
Did you vote?
Of course.
All right, I like it. So let me just get a couple things out of the going on here. So like I said, this is episode number 34. And tonight we're brought to you again by Tickle Me Comedy and the Blue Zone Comedy Tour. Blue Zone Comedy Tour is the vehicle for bringing disabled comics to in the spotlight. And we've been having a lot of fun. We also want to thank Asian Cultural TV, who we're sponsored by also, and we really appreciate all their support and help. And we couldn't do our podcast without their help. But so what else I want to tell you? Oh, and I do this every week. I always forget to thank the team at the end of the show. So I'm going to do something different tonight. I'm going to thank them in the beginning. So I want to thank Malaysia, who's behind the camera. I want to thank Sammy. I want to thank Melissa. I want to thank Stefano, and I want to thank JT, who is, that's an interesting thing. He's our remote guy, and he lives in Chicago, right? Is that where he's at?
Yes.
Yeah, so he kind of monitors us online and tells us what we're doing right or wrong, and we appreciate him too. And I want to thank my co-host for tonight too, Roman.
Yeah.
I am a mental. So with that, I'm going to let you introduce our guest for the evening.
Yeah, this guy, Diaz Mackie, that's on the show tonight, phenomenal. ABC, Netflix, TV One. I've seen him on stage. He's helped me write a bunch of jokes. This guy I'm excited to be here. I've hung out and partied with him. He's a partier. Unfortunately, he lives in LA now. A little bit of a Rolling Stone, but this guy is top notch. You guys got to check him out. If you see him playing in Vegas, you guys got to go see him in Vegas. He's an up and coming comedian. And I'm just super stoked to be here. What's up, man?
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Diaz, how are you tonight?
Yes, yeah.
So what's up? What have you been up to? Like, you were in Vegas for a while, then you had to move out, and now you're back. You're over in LA, and you're back and forth between Vegas and LA. So, what's going on over there? The comedy clubs open, or?
LA is shut down.
Still?
LA is still completely Gestapo communist shut down. It's insane, the mask mandate and all that. Since the whole pandemic, I've just been traveling.
Yeah.
I gave up my place right before, or like right in the beginning, and went out to Michigan for a while, and from there went to Minnesota, where I was there during the riots, the George Floyd riots, doing comedy. Yeah, it was pretty dope experience.
Were you like right there with them, or were you just like in your hotel looking out?
No, every black guy was there.
Yeah. I mean, I was out there, and one of my pictures actually went viral. That the picture of everybody was calling them Amish, and it said "Justice for George Floyd." That little picture, that was actually my picture
Really?
that I took. Yeah.
Wow. No shit.
But been to Dallas, Florida.
What?
Yeah, I did. They had me perform at a swingers weekend in Florida.
What was that like?
That was fun.
Don't spare the details.
We want all the details.
That was fun. Definitely one of a highlight of my comedy career. Out of the many, but
The performance or the after parties?
all of it. It was definitely an experience that whole weekend. It was,
That's
very
good.
interesting.
How did you get that booking?
Someone just hit me up on Facebook and was like, "Hey, we're doing this swingers weekend, and normally we don't have a comic, but I wanted to make it different, and you're funny as hell.
Yeah.
We want to have you out."
So the comedy scene's open up, right?
Yes, Florida pretty much is opening up. Michigan in some spots.
Yeah.
Out in the rural areas where they, like Trump.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Those jokes will be fun.
Oh yeah.
So like, what is it? So obviously, every comedian's had to adjust during this this period of COVID. I think we're trying to translate to like maybe private parties.
Yep.
We could do private parties and stuff like that. But funny you moved to LA. That's even more lockdown. And I think we were talking about it earlier. The Rio has opened. Is the Rio open? So he used to headline at the Rio.
Yeah,
right?
phenomenal
Yeah,
show.
great.
I was the first resident headliner.
Yeah,
How cool is
great
that?
venue. Like, you know, I've seen him multiple times. Headlined at the Rio, and then and obviously the shutdown. But I think there's more opening up here, right? Are they? It's after the election, so everything should start opening up.
I have no idea what's opening. Vegas is completely foreign to me. Like, I've been gone for 6 months. I came back, and it's weird. It's desolate.
I know.
The vibe is, I don't know. It's weird. It's not the same Vegas.
Well, I guess they're shutting down the casinos now during the week. This just came out earlier today. Yeah.
Whoa, really? I
Yeah.
heard.
MGM Park and Wynn. A lot of the casinos are just shutting down during midweek and opening on the weekend. But
And the hotel part too, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I heard of.
Which is going to be a bad, it's bad forecasting for, a lot of Vegas residentials. But we also know that, like, we've talked to other comedians and, their process of going through it, either moving out. But I think that, it'll slowly pick back up. But who knows? Hopefully after this election, it picks up. That's all we can hope for.
Well, we just hope the election gets over.
Yeah, no kidding.
We can't get back to comedy till that gets over. So
Right.
yeah, but
So go ahead.
so Diaz, one of the things that we always try to do is kind of bring to the audience, how you got started in comedy, how long you've been doing it, what got you motivated, those kinds of things. So how long have you been performing?
I've been doing comedy now for 14 years.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you get started?
Well, I always wanted to be a comic. I think Fozzie the Bear. You know what I mean? Like,
That was your inspiration, huh?
Yeah, my first, to be honest. And then it was a little bit of Richard, but then really more Bernie Mac. And then I really fell in love with Chappelle. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, just always wanted to be a comic. I wanted to be a comic or an athlete, an actor, or president. I studied political science. I was always into politics since I was a kid. Like, they used to call me the Black Alex B. Keaton for the old people out there. Family Ties, the young people are like, who the hell is that? Michael J. Fox, Young Republican. But yeah. So I was that kid. Like, I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I know it was during the Clarence Thomas whole thing. But I dressed up as Clarence Thomas for Halloween. Like, that was
Did you?
my cheap costume. Yeah, I just put on a suit and a trench coat and carried around a briefcase and
That
walked around as a black kid. They were like, what are you? And I was like, Clarence Thomas. And you can see these white people in their faces like, what the hell? Like, what a kid.
Trick or treat.
Is walking around like, I'm Clarence Thomas.
Trick or treat.
How old were you?
I forget how old I was at that time.
Yeah, you were
yeah.
definitely ahead of your.
I was
I mean, today that would be.
Right?
You'd even offend white, offend white people.
Right?
Oh
That's
my God.
such a progressive idea at this point.
So we've talked about, like, with other comedians, like what it's like, bombing and stuff like that, and how long the process is. But also we talk about how comics in this day and age kind of get confined to a box now. Like, have you dealt with any of that? Like, because you remind me of, like, Patrice O'Neal, right? Your comedy is just
Incredible.
like he was banned before his time. Like, that's why he couldn't do anything, right? But, like, your jokes are definitely, like, on the edge, right? Have you told jokes in different scenarios or situations in which you're like, oh, this will kill, depending on the crowd, and then gone to different clubs where, like, oh man, that didn't get too many laughs because you're edgy.
Yeah. I mean, certain jokes get better responses, I guess, in certain environments. I don't know. I don't know exactly how to gauge that because every crowd is different. And in my 14 years of doing comedy, I've never done the same set twice.
Wow. See, that's
I freestyle on stage. I have my jokes that I've worked out over the time, but a lot of it is I work at a good 60% of my set on stage.
Wow. Is it a lot of crowd work, or is it just kind of
No, it's not crowd work. It's me riffing on thoughts that I've had during the week or the day or whatever have you, and just working that out on stage.
So did you do that as a headliner or just open mic nights?
That's how I started.
Wow. That's incredible.
The first time I ever went up, I didn't write down any jokes. I just went up and just freestyled the whole thing.
Well,
and
that's always something I like to find out too. Is tell us what your first time.
my first time was really good. That's
Comedy.
why. Yeah.
Comedy. So,
That's why I'm a comic now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I was good at it the first time I did it. My personality. If
Yeah.
I'd have sucked at it, I would have been.
so was it like an open mic or?
I did an open mic here in Vegas. Is where I started.
Nice.
At Boomers. Comic
yeah.
by the name of Matt Markman was hosting. I called him. I was actually looking for casting agencies to act, and was looking in the Las Vegas Weekly. And I always wanted to be a comic, but didn't know how to get into it. You know what I mean? There's no one telling you, hey, you got to go to an open mic. You know what I mean, or whatever have you. So
For sure.
I was looking in the back for casting, and I came across this open mic, and I called it. And the guy who answered, he was Matt Markman, and he was like, "You're booked." And the date was like 2 or 3 weeks from the time. That was how full this mic was, and I didn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
I just kind of like whatever. I'll write some jokes. I write some jokes, and then the day of was like, "Oh shit!" You know, like I got to do this.
Yeah.
And if I don't do it, you know what I mean. If I, flake, I might not ever get this chance again.
Right.
And because it was a commitment, like I felt obligated to go. So my girlfriend at the time and 2 friends, we went, and I kicked them out of my car, told them to go in and find a seat, and I smoked a blunt to the head. And
Classic.
listened to Lloyd Banks' 1970 something, just on repeat, and just kind of zoned out.
Yeah.
And
So
just imagined myself on stage, and then I went in there and sat down and just went up and freestyle.
that's what I like. There's so many, like when you first get up on stage, even now you got the lights in front of you. That's what's so phenomenal about stand up is I think it's the hardest craft out of all the arts, right? There's no cut.
Nope.
Right? If you mess up, there's no cut. There's no all right, let's redo this shot. It's you're on stage with a huge audience of people, and then if you bomb a joke, you have to collect your thoughts.
Well, that's why comedy is definitely the hardest profession as far as amongst entertainment. Obviously, doctors and things like that get more far more respect. But as far as entertainment, comedy is the only field where you're constantly being judged on a myriad of things. The way you look,
it's true.
the way you sound, present yourself, your cadence. And you can have an audience with one joke and you can lose them on the next and never be able to get them back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one time you told me when he used to help me out with some of my jokes, which was awesome, but he got so good at one point, you were saying you lose the crowd on purpose sometimes just to test that he would bring them back, which I thought was
that's interesting.
Which I thought was crazy because I didn't have as much stage time as him. But he would purposely kind of lose the crowd and then bring him back just to see if he could. That's how much he's been on stage, right?
Yeah, I mean, you get to the point where you gotta, because you're gonna be in those situations, and so you have to know that I can pull myself out of any hole, and so you get to a point to where you will, start, tanking a set to see if you can bring it up, or telling a joke that shouldn't get the result. And sometimes it still gets it, what I mean? Sometimes you do something that's like, oh, because at that time, like, you can get to a point with an audience where they just know that you're funny.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, you can do whatever. And it's funny. You know what I mean? So out of those audiences, you really can't get a true gauge of where you're at because you fall into a zone that you're just funny.
Yeah.
Which is why you really can't learn anything from a good performance. You learn the most from your bad performances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because those are the ones that you go back and you critique and you look at and you try to figure out where I lost them if you're really serious about the craft and looking at the videotape. Someone's like, oh, it wasn't the joke that made that funny, it was the face that I made when I told that joke. So then you try to incorporate how to mimic that face when you tell that joke again. You know what I mean? Oh, I giggled here, and that giggle there was authentic because it was truly funny to you in that moment, but that's what got the crowd laugh. So now I have to incorporate that little
giggle.
tidbit, that little giggle, the little,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? At the right time. Give me inside different little stuff. Sometimes I'll, laugh and you see me do it, smack the mic on my
I've
leg.
seen it. Yeah.
Chappelle does
It's
it
the
too.
best.
Yeah.
But that was, it's kind of like my, punchline.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers like, you with me?
So-
whip them into shape.
One thing that I love that you
Little
do that
nuances.
a lot of comics do, and you've perfected this craft, is you go in sync with the DJ. Like when you come on stage, like I don't know. Do you mind if I give away what you do?
Go ahead, go for it.
So when he comes on stage, right? He tells the DJ Red, which is who's performed for you a lot. He'll tell him to turn up the volume with the DJ, right? And then he'll bring it back down. So now the crowd is fully engaged, and they know, all right, and everybody starts like, okay, like he's here to party. So now that's all eyes on him. And outside of that, when he starts rolling off his jokes and your little, what other little like things do you do to get crowd engagement? Because it's phenomenal. It's a masterpiece.
His giggle is what I've noticed. At the right time, at the right, it's very good. You'll have when we all get back to work, you'll have to come and see Diaz. He's phenomenal. I love it.
Well, I don't know when this comes out, but I'll be headlining a show, Boulder City, Monday.
Ooh.
This upcoming Monday, whatever November date that is.
You're headlining it?
Yes.
Where
No
at?
kidding.
The backstop.
Cool.
Boulder City, 9 o'clock.
That's awesome.
Boulder. It's called the Backstop in Boulder City. It's a nice place. It's a nice bar. I've done there several times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might head out there.
Oh, that'd be kind of fun.
I'm in.
But yeah,
Anybody
there's
got-
different
everybody- come on.
nuances that you have to incorporate when you're on stage because it's entertainment. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
But then there's times when I just will sit on a stool, which you see me do plenty of times too, and just let the jokes carry themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's when you're really confident in your joke, you know what I mean, and the strength of the joke, and letting the joke do all of the work, and you don't have to be animated and add to it and do all that stuff like that.
That's the other thing that I enjoy about your performances is your act outs and your movements. You can tell that it's
That takes years.
Well, yeah. And it's-
Like if you looked at the first time you were on stage till now, like in all the small things that you've done, and
Oh God, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's how many open mics did you used to do a week or shows, right?
I was just talking about this the other day. For the first 11 years of me doing comedy, I did a show every day.
Really?
See, that's incredible. Wow.
And then after that, I was still going up every week, like a couple times a week. But then, like somewhere in that line, I was like, whoa, I don't have a social life. You know what I mean? Like,
Oops.
Well,
like,
that's
girlfriends like every time we go out, we're going to a fucking comedy show. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you mean I have to take out a day and actually go to a movie or do something not comedy related?
It's not right.
What's wrong with that?
And that's how
picture?
dedicated you have to be to this
Yeah.
crap. And then going over, we talked to a lot with people about bombing and like,
Yeah.
did you have like the big bomb experience where it kind of set you back?
I have
or
never bombed. No.
this guy.
That's
And I have some swamp.
my
land.
first big bomb was what actually made me what I consider to be a good comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the finals of Dove Comedy Jam. So to set up that story, the Dove Comedy Jam audition, I got a standing ovation. I only been doing comedy 6 months.
Wow.
9 months tops. And like I was like, oh shit, this is easy. Like we got a truck called Mom. Like, Mama, we made it. Like this is cake.
Yeah.
Got it.
And my closer at the time was my Steve Irwin bit. For those who don't know, I used to do a Steve Irwin bit where he was in the hood looking for crackheads instead of crocodiles. And I would tackle the mic stand and all that and rustle it. And, hey, it's gorgeous, Sheila. Isn't she? Like, look at all her teeth. No something rotten out, and do this whole Australian accent. And we get standing O's, you know what I mean? And I did that there and got a standing O. That was what made me a professional comedian, honestly. That joke, Michael Collier saw it, very famous black comedian, and he was like, "You're a genius, boy." you know, and it paid me. And I was like, oh shit! And I've been doing comedy like 3 months at that time.
You're a genius. That's a good.
And so I went to do the finals, and I bought a shirt. I wore a T-shirt on stage, which I hadn't done to that point. Like to that point, I'd always worn like a dress shirt I always wore a blazer. Like when I first started, I was always like I'm dressed up. You know what I mean?
But you still do it now.
Here and there.
I've seen
I do. I like to do it because I still remember back to the way the old guys did it. You know what I mean? In the 80s and stuff like that. Where now people are more loose. Like people wear shorts on stage now.
Some guy didn't even have a shirt on in one of the Netflix specials.
Well,
yeah.
But I chose to abandon that look for some odd reason and go more hood. And I bought this shirt that said New Jack City on it, and it had this iron-on print, and it had George Bush, I think Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld on it, like the old New Jack City movie cover with Wesley Snipes. And it was an iron-on print, and like everything about that show was wrong for me. Yeah. They told me I was going up in a specific spot in the lineup. And so I'm in the backstage ready. And as the comic before me is closing, they start playing at the time, I forget the name, but another song, Money in the Bank. And I'm vibing to the beat, getting like hyped up, like the energy's there.
Yeah.
And they call Smiley Joe Wiley. That was how I met Smiley Joe.
We had him on here. Yeah.
He bumped me. He came in from Comic View, and they bumped me. And I was like, oh shit. And I'm like, okay, no worries, you know what I mean? I'm like, my energy's there, my dopamine's are high, you know, like.
But as a comic, to try and like, right? To gather yourself again, like.
Especially so young in the game, like, and no one ever taught me any structure. Like, everything I've learned from comedy for the most part, I've learned on my own. Like, certain comics have helped along the way, like Smiley, when he saw me, and Greg Wilson, Shane Brenner, Tom Rhodes. But, I was trying to keep that energy up, which I thought I had done a pretty good job of doing. And then when they introduced me to come out, they played Jingle Bells. Like the original Jingle Bells. And my energy just said, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I walked out with that energy like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I never recaptured that energy, and I didn't have an opener at that time to create energy off of. Oh. So I went right into the joke with no confidence in this audience.
Yeah. How big was the audience?
It was packed. It was probably like 500, 600, 700 people.
Oh my God.
It was inside the, which is now the D Casino, in their theater. It was packed. And
so you never recovered, or were you able to
no,
save it?
I didn't. At the time, that's when the strip was being remodeled. Again, this is 14 years ago. So I told this joke about on the corner of Flamingo, how it used to really smell like shit when they were digging up the sewers.
East Flamingo?
Yeah, and it was right there on the strip, and it was like getting hit by the overhand hand Riddick, which is such a dumb, corny joke, you know what I mean? But when I told it back then, like, you know, it got nothing there.
Did you have to follow? Did you follow somebody that nailed it?
I followed Smiley.
Oh, so he killed it.
Yeah, he did it.
That's always hard.
But it shouldn't have been hard. I should have been right away. But my energy from the song and all that, like, completely
being new.
Boom.
Why would the DJ do that?
That's a story too that was done on purpose.
Train wreck you?
Yeah. And it works.
See, even politics and comedy.
Yeah,
right?
somebody set me up.
Yeah.
I won't throw him under the bus because me and him are cool now, and he's very famous here in Vegas. Mike P. But yeah. So I went on to tell another joke about Jaheim, the singer, being gay and him sleeping with Johnny Gill. And instead of people laughing, I saw old black women in the front row asking each other, Jaheim gay? And I was like, oh my God, I'm dying up here. So it was like, get to the closer. Like and it's funny, at that young in the game, I already knew, like, get to the closer, and then, like, you will work your way from there. Like, you got to make them laugh now.
Yeah. How long was your set?
I was supposed to do like 10, 15.
Which
And
it was like years of work.
For especially when you just started.
right, I just started.
Yeah, well, that's incredible.
But I could freestyle, which is what I've been doing since. So anyway, I go to tell the Steve Irwin joke, and I got the crowd with me.
Mhm.
They're with me, like they're finally laughing because I'm doing my accent. Good day, lights. Today we're in here in the streets of Las Vegas, Nevada, looking for the indigenous crackhead. And grab the mic and look there, we spotted one. You see how she fidgets and shakes? This is what we call a Jones. And I went to stalk the mic stand like I did in the audition. And in the audition, when I jumped on the mic stand, somehow I caught the floor and I slid. And so I like gracefully, I played baseball, was able to grab it, and I popped back up like a baseball player when he was still in the base. And was like, God bless, good night. And amazing, right? Yeah. Couldn't dream it. I went to purposely duplicate that.
Yeah, you can't, yeah.
Nope.
And when I dove on the floor to get to the mic stand, my George Bush New Jack City shirt with the iron-on print stuck to the floor.
Oh!
And I literally stopped. I didn't slide at all. And I was like a foot and a half from the mic stand, like reaching for it. And I was laying on the floor like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is over.
600
done.
People. Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah, I bombed so bad that I lost a threesome that I didn't even know I had. Like I found out about it years later. Like this dude was like, this other comic was like, yeah, remember this? Like I fucked these two girls. I was there to see you. Like, you bombed.
Yeah.
Like it would have been by far the worst set of that whole show, except for a friend of mine, rest in peace, this past year, Big Reg, coming from Oakland. He bombed, but it wasn't the fact that he bombed. It was the fact that he was so dark and his hands were so ashy that was all you can see was how white his hands were, and that was all the comics talked about afterwards. So
Like
I was off the
mime.
hook.
Kind of like a mime.
Like I had my head tucked down, like bombed, and then they're like, "Nigga, your hands like you been popping back." I was like, "Oh, okay." But I learned the most from that show. I learned about keeping the energy up, trying not to let your mood affect you off of a song, to get an opener to build my own energy up from that, attire, just all types of stuff. The confidence.
Yeah.
Because that's, most of the time when you bomb, that's what it is you don't believe in the joke. So you go out there with this nervousness, and the crowd is like sharks. You know what I mean? The warrior. They just, they sniff blood and it's over for you. You know what I mean? Especially a black crowd.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Like, you look fearful in a black crowd, it's like, ooh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, get on stage, but.
No, so we talked about it earlier, like the confinements of comedians now and what they can and can't say, or have you dealt with any of that?
I have not.
Okay, so that's good.
I have not, just due to the fact that.
Because you get away with a lot of shit on stage.
I use my black privilege.
I cannot say half the shit that you say on stage, and I love it. And I love watching you. And you played at what's the place downtown? The theater. Eclipse Theater. Yeah.
At the Tickle Me Comedy Club.
Tickle Me Comedy Club. Whenever they have shows, he's up there, and he gets the crowd rocking. Like I always
build that club.
I never go on. Yeah, he helped build the club. I hope I never go on after him, and it's always a pretty good crowd. But yeah, you definitely get away with a lot of awesome stuff. But just like.
And I say in jest that I use my black privilege, but I mean I do actually a little bit, but at the same time, you can get away with pretty much anything as long as you act like you're supposed to do it.
You told me that You told me that years ago. You're like, you can say this,
but you just gotta own it.
You gotta own it, and I was like, there's no way I'm saying that.
Yeah. No, I couldn't do that either. It's like, but.
Because if you bomb, that's the problem, especially with open mics. If you try and test out a joke, he suggested I say something, and I was like, no, I'll never say that on stage, even though I thought it was a good joke. He's like, oh, you just got to own it. But I'd still never say it on stage.
And you didn't do it?
No, I never would do it.
Really?
You know? Yeah.
It must have been good. Go ahead.
But I like the fact that, like, especially Diaz, like, I could go to him and give him any joke, no matter what it is, and he'll be like, yeah, this, he's actually helped me create jokes or work on them or tweak them or what about this, you know. But I think we play in a different, right? A little like he says I could say and do whatever I want, but there's limitations, right? There's just limitations.
There's only limitations if you put yourself in those limitations, though. Like, you're only in the box as long as you allow yourself to be in that box.
But it's the crowd. The crowd, I feel like I did a joke in the black community and they loved it, and it was a black joke. And I tell people this all the time. I did a joke at UNLV, right across the street from UNLV, and I was like harassed out of there.
Really?
They're like, oh yeah, it was bad. And they were like, the Black Comedy Club, it was on the east side. I can't remember what the club was called. And then I did the joke near UNLV, and they were just like, it was like white kids that were like, you can't say that, blah blah blah. And I was like, I just did this last week, the Black Comedy Club, and they're like, that was my best joke. And they're laughing, and I was like, what is going on right now? So that's why, like, playing to your crowd, like, you know, like where was you said you did a comedy show up in Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
right? Like you have to change a little.
I don't.
Nope.
I love that.
I don't.
I love that more than anybody.
Yeah, I don't. In fact, I'll dig in. You know what I mean? Like, even when I was in like San Francisco and Portland and most of those like super liberal cities, you know what I mean? I just go straight up there and call them out on their liberalism. You know what I mean? You know, tell them that they're a problem, and they love it. You know what I mean? They're like, oh my God, you're so uncomfortably funny. You know what I mean?
Well, like, but you don't, obviously, like, we're two different shoes, but like, that is.
But I will admit, like, I won't sit here and be like, oh, I will admit that in this day and age, it is tougher to be a heterosexual white male saying whatever you want to say than it is to be a black man and saying whatever I want to say.
That's pretty powerful.
I
I definitely thought of it because like there's whenever I went on stage I would.
Well, you guys are the enemy right now. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's honest. It's truthful. I mean, he also tells the truth. Like he knows more about politics than I did. He talks to me about politics. We partied together. He's helped me with comedy stuff, and this guy's very enlightening. Like he will.
I had a similar experience. I did a comedy competition, and all the other comics were black, and it's just like, I just laid it out there, and I won. There were 10 comics, and all.
Well, that's your white privilege.
That was my white privilege. I didn't.
But that does work. But it does work that way as well. A white comic with confidence has a better chance of being funny and well received in the black audience than
I know. I've seen that. I've experienced that.
Why is that, do you think?
It's because one is like, oh, he better be funny, and then if you own it, it's like, oh, that white boy silly as hell. You know what I mean? Like I go up, it's like, oh, that bougie nigga. You know what I
mean? I'm laughing way too loud for that, but like,
that coon, that upper town. You think he educated? Uppity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a trip. Hey, do you think we will go back to like normalcy a little bit? Cause no, like looking for like 10 years from now, do you think it's gonna get worse?
Yeah.
Really? For comics, do you think it'll get worse?
For society.
Okay.
So like,
so how do wait? Let me follow up with that. So what are we going to do as comics to kind of maybe ease some of that?
We are not going to do anything.
Well, just in general, comic. Well,
I mean,
maybe not you.
Yeah, I mean,
real comics will stick out, and the cream will rise to the top because comics have always been the purveyors of freedom of speech.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And unfortunately, with the new temperature of these new comedians, that all of a sudden want to be so liberal, which I don't understand, that you want to support cancel culture when they're canceling you, which is defining how you can talk. I don't get the moronic in that, but...
So I'm talking about this too, like from the civil rights movement in 1969 in Berkeley, where it's, hey, we have a platform, this is freedom of speech, everybody's allowed to assemble and speak what they want, till today where, and it's not just politics, because it's bleeding over, and like, comedy's an art.
It's not. It didn't start with politics. Trump was elected in 2016 because of this rebellion, because it was starting then.
What was?
The whole PC movement, and that was why Trump was elected. He was anti-PC, and I was like, oh, I like him because he speaks his mind. He's real, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
And it's still continuing, and unfortunately, even with...
Say what you need to say. Let it out. I know you're holding back.
Just trying to find the way to put it.
Let it go.
Regardless of the results of the election, because Biden is going to win, this whole thing has been set up for him to win since get-go. If anybody's seen the previous podcast I was on here during the election, I told you guys then that Biden would win the election based off of the mail-in ballots because of the voter fraud that was on current. And that is what's happening now. It's funny to see
You nailed it. I mean,
so many Americans willingly accept it and lay down their civil liberties and then defend it in the right of, oh, this is going against fascism. And it's like, you realize that what you're accusing the other person of, they're being fascist.
like silencing freedom of speech.
But it's like when someone's always accusing someone of being a narcissist, that person is accusing them of being narcissism is usually the narcissist.
Yeah, they're projecting.
Exactly.
Right? Same with the people that are cheating. If you have one person in a relationship, the person that's the most controlling or saying, hey, you can't go out, you can't do this, normally that's the individual in the relationship that's projecting their
80%
own
of the time.
projecting their own insecurities.
They're doing what they're telling you not to do.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy because you're getting into the psyche of their mind. You know, when you're accusing somebody of,
Or you're covering up for what you're doing by trying to project
exactly,
it out.
and as you don't know that when you're younger, but as you get older, you're like, man, I was in this controlling relationship with, and that I think that transcends to everything. That's just normal psychology behavior of, I'm going to accuse you of xenophobia, sexism, racism, and all this other stuff, but it's normally the person that screams the loudest that they're right. I mean, go ahead, piggyback on that.
You just have to be. Not everybody can see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not everyone is meant to see it. And for those who can see it, I guess that's the burden and the problem sometimes, is because you get mad that other people can't see it. You're like, why can't you see this? This is widely open.
Do you think that comes with age?
No, I honestly don't. I think
Education?
I think it just comes with a gift. I think it's just a gift. I think
Wow.
some people are just born with an insight to see bullshit, to see beyond the veil, to see behind the curtain. For some, it's young. You know, some people learn it. You know what I mean? I know myself. Maybe it was a pattern of the way I grew up. Like, my father didn't raise me as a kid. He raised me as an adult, taught me things way too early. But then my mom being a single mother, me not really liking to hang out with kids my age, but always trying to be around the adults, hearing and seeing stuff because they'd be talking and thinking I was a child, not knowing that my father's teaching me all this stuff. So I'm picking up on all this stuff early.
You sound like an old soul.
Yeah, and that's what it turned out to be. And then so you just grew up seeing behind the veil of a lot of bullshit. And
unfortunately, it's like we said before, it's turning over to the arts where, you know, like, there's only one type of, whether it's movies or whether it's whatever, there's only one idea that you can think. And if you, that's not what art's about. No, art's about creativity, different views. And even if you look at like some painting, you're like, this shit is stupid. But then somebody else might say, hey, this is brilliant, right? Yeah. And now that we're like, we're taking kind of all that out and said, this is what everybody should see. That's not good for us as a society, and it's not good for us in the arts.
As human beings, it's not good
and that's
for
why
us.
It's incumbent upon comedians to preserve that right of freedom of speech, and in some cases, just be a contrarian, just to be a contrarian, and that's to provoke thought, not to harass, you know what I mean, or just be an asshole, but just to provoke thought that, oh, maybe something could be that way. You know what I mean? I didn't think of it that way.
Or I can't believe he said that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like with my comedy, like when I first started out, I just wanted to be funny. And then At some point, I realized I wanted to be funny because that's the point of being comedy, but I also wanted to be poignant.
Mm-hmm.
Have a message
And
leave the audience with some
just
thoughts.
leave with a thought. I'm not trying to persuade you to think one way or the other, but I just want you to think about the subject.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's very
awesome.
cool.
That's very awesome.
To create some type of empathy, because that's what's missing in this world today is empathy. Like, people have sympathy,
Yeah.
but that does no good without empathy.
Yeah,
That's
no
true.
kidding.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's.
So it's incumbent upon us as comedians is to preserve that thought of freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech, to speak the mind, speak the truth.
But have you guys been to comedy clubs where like you can't talk about this, or
Oh,
this?
yeah.
Right. So like they'll restrict you at comedy clubs, and you're like.
And I always say it anyway.
I did a
I love it.
I did an open mic downtown.
Even if you get banned.
Yeah.
Right. You're
They
just gonna
never,
take.
they never banned me because the crowd ends up laughing. And I just do it in a classic way because the reason why they tell you, oh, don't talk about politics here is because they're scared of the reaction.
Yeah.
Wow.
But if you do it and the crowd loves it, they can't say shit. They're like, oh, that was pretty creative. You know what I mean? Like, what can you do? The crowd loved it.
Yeah.
I was doing an open mic one night at this place down by Fremont Street, and a very liberal group of people, and the young lady that was hosting it was sitting in the front row, and I was telling some gender-related jokes.
Yeah.
And she's sitting there telling me, you can't say that. Well, I'm trying to do my stuff. She's, no, you can't say that. And it's like, oh my God. So I just kept doing it anyway.
So that's I think like I've told you before, like 1969 Berkeley civil rights and the liberalism now, and when I say liberal, like there's a lot of liberal values I actually like there's a lot of liberal things and ideas and things that I like when I say like the liberals I feel like have gone from the conservative, right? Like they like the you can't talk about this, and it's gone from kind of pushing this certain like back in the day it was more like you should believe in Jesus Christ and you need to believe like Christianity and yada yada yada, but I feel like it's not the conservative value. It's like the conservatives are like, hey, freedom of speech, we should say whatever we want. But that was a liberal idea.
Yeah.
That generated from a liberal idea.
Yeah.
Like that came from, like the 70s and the hippies are like, hey, do what you want with your body, peace, love, and freedom.
Yep.
Right?
Through election cycles and things like that, like the Republican Party, and people don't want to realize it because they want to be so viral and divisive, but the Republican Party has become far more acceptance, and it's moved far more liberal. You know what I mean? Like
way more liberal.
They have
way more.
They have a gay wing of the Republican Party that's just like openly gay. You know what I mean? Like
that would never happen 30 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Yeah, no.
Time out for a second. All right, time out. We're going to edit this part out. How are we doing on time?
You have about 7 minutes.
7 minutes? Okay. All right, we're back.
Go for
I mean, the Republican Party, this election cycle, just nominated the most female representatives ever. You know what I mean? That party has become more inclusive. It has become more accepted, which should have never been a political issue anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
But to
For
what
sure.
you're saying, the liberals, somewhere where the right was like Jesus, 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 the liberals, and they quit doing it.
Yeah.
The liberals are like, you shouldn't talk about Jesus, and you can't say people are old. You gotta say elderly. You know what I mean? It's just like, what?
Yeah.
And you're a racist. Everything revolves back to you're a
Well, that's
racist.
just you specifically.
Well, not me.
No, I'm just teasing with you.
That's funny you just brought that up because I am a racist. I watch NASCAR every weekend because I'm racing.
No, I get I think it's everybody has their own different experiences through life and stuff like that, and they deal with certain would you call it injustices and they take that life perspective and then project it to the world. But in the comedy realm, it's okay to bash, right, like certain people, but then if you bash other people at a comedy club, I saw a guy bash Donald Trump in 2017, everybody was laughing, but then he moved to Hillary Clinton and he was moved off stage.
Really?
Yeah, and this guy was he was a Democrat, he was a liberal, and I'm like and I was like, dude, why did you do that? What happened? He goes, I just wanted to test out the crowd to see what was okay or not. Like, It was okay for me. It was
what
okay.
happened was the joke wasn't funny because they'll laugh at anything.
Yeah, that's a
I've-
good point. That's a good point.
Tell fucking Donald Trump jokes that are, you've seen them, are backhand compliments throughout the whole thing. I call him the KK wizard throughout
Yeah,
that
I know.
stuff.
One of your jokes is like he's a KK wizard, and then
And Trump fans love it, you know what I mean? I have people come up to me, I love Trump too, you know what I mean? Right on, brother. Like,
they didn't get it. They didn't
because
get
the
it.
joke was funny.
Well, they
Yeah.
got it. They just don't know they got it till tomorrow.
Yeah.
When they wait, hey, that
Yeah.
a message in there. Yeah, I like it. Right.
But yeah, it's definitely it's a wild ride right now, and I don't want to say it's like a battle between, you know, having a basic conversation, especially on stage, because I've seen it. Have you seen that? I mean, your jokes are so, and this is what's wild, like, because your jokes hit all the time. They're funny, like when you talk about the Trump KKK, which I forgot the joke, but it's hilarious. And then yeah. But have you made a joke, against somebody else, right?
Yeah.
That where they're like, whoa,
No, I've never had anybody come back to me, like when I talk about a politician or a celebrity and I make a joke about them. And then I don't ever make jokes about people in the audience, right? So,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I mean, just,
So what about
as long
hecklers?
as it's funny, it's funny.
Can you kill hecklers? I mean,
Yes.
Since you're a freestyler, you could, right? Do you have like a list of like, all right,
I don't.
this guy, really? It's
I
all
don't.
top of your head? Like, all right, I'm going to have some
Because I'm
jokes.
specific.
Okay.
And I try not to engage with hecklers because I can get mean. You know what I mean? Like when I play the dozens, like I'm hitting you with like blades. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna leave you cut up. You know what I mean? Like because I notice stuff about people that I can just dissect like instantly, and
Awesome.
I just aim for it. Like it's like, oh, like you hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
Like,
you don't want to get too mean, you lose the crowd.
exactly.
Yeah,
And so
for
that's
sure.
what I try not to. I didn't try to dance with that, and I always like give them a quick shot and like warn them like, hey, you know.
Chill.
But at the same time, I haven't been heckled that much. Like I don't
Really?
understand people who get heckled all the time and make videos about it.
Well, I think the open mic, like, so you got the winos, like, in the crowd. Like, I've seen, like, at all the comedy shows I went to, you have, like, a woman drinking wine, and she's normally the loudest, or some loud guy, like, machismo guy.
But those are ways to handle those too. I mean, because in dealing with a heckler, there's a variety of ways. You can ignore them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, speak over them, address them, and move away, or demolish them. You know what I mean? At some point though, if the club is ran good, you know what I mean, like security should come over to him, like, hey, pipe down. But yeah, I mean, because not every heckle is a heckle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes a dude just wanted to be heard. He is agreeing
some
with you. You know what I mean? Right on, brother. You know what I mean? Or saying some shit. You just move on. You don't have to address it. What'd you say, bud? You know what I mean?
Just to get a little attention, right?
I mean, just a little acknowledgement, like, oh yeah, that guy's drunk.
Or
This guy's having a good time,
or I can add a better punchline to his joke, and I'll just yell it out.
Yeah, don't jump in a gunfight if you don't have any bullets. You know what I mean? If you don't got nothing to say to him, like, try to ignore him.
Yeah.
We interviewed a comic a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about hecklers. I don't know if you were here, and he said, "I just bring them up on stage." I don't know
That's
if I
the
can-
worst thing that you could ever do.
He said,
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
crazy.
I'd never heard of that
That is the
before.
dumbest thing ever.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because you run the risk of him being funnier than you.
Well, I can see that.
That would be the worst.
And it happened really quick, and I didn't know how to respond to that because I don't know. I could never do that. I would never do that.
Never give up the microphone.
No.
That is the golden rule.
Yep, exactly. So, hey, Roman,
Yep.
what do I have to do every podcast?
End it.
Oh, don't say that out loud. Yep. So that's my job. Dillon Dilligaf is it's my responsibility and my role to bring our podcast to an end. We had a great time. This has been a great discussion. We didn't expect it to go in this direction, but I think we had an awesome discussion, and I hope that the audience got to get some insight and learn some things and a whole different perspective on the way Diaz looks at the world and all that good stuff. And I thought it was a great time. So,
Fun.
yeah, you have a good time?
Yeah.
Diaz?
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring the podcast to an end. And I want to, again, thank our sponsors, Asian Cultural TV, Blue Zone Comedy Tour, and Tickle Me Comedy. So, with that, I'll say goodnight. And I've been Dillon Dilligaf, along with my sidekick, and Diaz Mackie. And we're saying goodnight. So
Ciao.
we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Sweet.